In this episode, we're going to go over what you can do if you struggle with looking to other people for approval and validation as an athlete. Hey there, I'm Eli Straw, mental performance coach and the founder of SuccessStartsWithin.com. Now, when we look to other people for this approval for ourselves, right? Whether it's the approval that we are good enough, the approval that our technique is looking good, the validation that we are a good player, the validation that we should go out there and play aggressively. And when we're doing that, this ends up leading to us being distracted. It can lead to us being too focused on them, so now we're not very confident and trusting in ourselves because we're only feeling good if another person tells us we're good. And a lot of times it also leads to this fear, because if I know that I'm looking to other people for validation for how I play, right, for approval that I'm a good player, then it's likely that I will be afraid of losing that approval, right? Losing that validation to where they don't think I'm that good of a player. So what we want to figure out how to do is, not care about that, because it's natural for you to care about what your coach thinks, what your teammates think, your parents think, right? It's natural for you to care about all that, but it's really important that we don't rely on that for our own value and for our own validation that we are good enough as players. Now, this whole idea of building confidence, right, and working on building this approval within yourself is something that I work on a lot within one-on-one coaching, and also it's something that I cover a lot in the Confident Competitor Academy program. So if you are interested in learning more about one-on-one coaching or the Confident Competitor Academy program, I've put links to those in the description below. But the main way that we're gonna kind of go about managing this need for approval, right, which we can call social approval, where you're looking to other people, so people in your kind of social circle, your coaches, teammates, for validation that you're a good player. The way that we're going to do this is we're going to focus on making sure that you are actively giving yourself that approval. And the reason I say actively is because it's unlikely that we're just going to make this switch to where we're just going to make the switch from worrying so much about what other people think, constantly looking to them for approval, to all of a sudden not caring about what they think, right? It's unlikely that we'll make that switch that quickly. This has to be a continual process, right? A practice where we're going through every single day and we are working to validate ourselves. Now, I was working with a basketball player who was telling me about how during his games, he constantly looks to coach when he misses. If he misses a shot, he'll look to coach. If he turns the ball over, he looks to coach. If he gets beat on defense, he looks to coach. The reason that he's always looking to coach is because he's looking for what coach is either going to be saying to him, or he's looking for coach's body language, his reaction, his facial expression. In other words, he's looking to coach to see, hey, coach, are you mad at me? Are you upset about that? He's gauging coach's reaction. Now, I want you to imagine, playing that basketball game and running up and down the court, and every single possession or every few possessions, he's looking at coach, right? Looking at coach. Is he really focused and locked into the game? Is that player able to bounce back from mistakes quickly? Is that player locked into adjusting to the way they need to adjust or the things they need to adjust to because of what's happening during the game? They're not able to do any of that because they're so focused on coach and they keep looking to coach. And then what happens when coach's facial expression is bad? Coach is mad that they turn the ball over again. What's going to happen then? Well, then their confidence is going to drastically drop, and then we'll likely see their aggressiveness and their free play go away, and they'll start to play more tense, more timidly, and that unfortunately leads to more mistakes in and of itself, right? So with this basketball player, this would need to be an active process where during the game they are working to keep their focus on themselves. And that's a huge part of this. You have to make sure that during games, during practices, you're not constantly looking to coach and you're not constantly kind of trying to pick out what your coach is thinking or what your teammates are thinking. And that's definitely the first part of this, to where you have to recognize how much attention are you giving to coach or anybody else whose approval you're looking for and who you're trying to look to validate how good you are as a player. We want to limit the actual amount of time we spend looking at them. But the main part of this strategy is that you want to make sure you're giving yourself what we're going to call the definition of success for you that day. And the reason we're calling it the definition of success is because it's going to include a set of actions or things that you do to where by the end of the practice or the end of the game, you can go back and you can say, Okay, I did well today. I feel good about what I did because I stuck to these actions. Now, we have to be very careful here. These can't be actions or things that are out of your control, because then we're just hoping and we're leaving this up to chance. We have to make sure these are 100% in your control. So something this basketball player and I were talking about was trying to create these controllable actions and these controllable goals for him, to where he'll be able to say, this is the definition of success for me. One of the things we identified was making sure that he's focused on having more productive and positive thoughts. Something else that we talked about was trying to be aggressive on the offensive side, driving to the basket, taking open shots. And then defensively, we talked about really pressuring the ball. Those are all controllable objectives for him. Now with the offensive stuff, right, we didn't say you have to make all your shots. We just said take shots, be aggressive, drive to the basket. Once he has that idea in mind, this is going to help him going into the game, because he knows exactly what he wants to focus on. And we didn't select those things, just out of the blue. We selected them because he knows that helps him play better. And so like I said a second ago, when we're trying to pull our attention off of coach, not look to coach so much, not look to our teammates so much, we have to know exactly what we want to be thinking about and want to be focused on in that moment. And so for this basketball player, it'll include his positive thoughts about himself, playing that aggressive offense, right? And then pressuring the ball on defense. That's what he needs to be focused on. That's part of this active process for you, where you need to set these goals and these objectives before the game, so you know what you're trying to achieve that day. After practice and after games, we have to get into the habit of being able to evaluate and, most importantly, validate what we did that day. Now, I'm not saying that you want to always sugarcoat it and say, oh, I'm amazing, I'm playing perfectly, if you're not. But there's typically something positive you did that day. Whether it's a terrible practice or a terrible game, or a fantastic practice or a fantastic game, you did something well. You have to get into the habit of seeing those good things that you did. If you're constantly waiting for other people to tell you that you did something well, if you're only feeling good if coach or a teammate validates you and said, hey, you had a good practice today, you played good today, then you're giving this power to build your confidence to other people. We need to take that power back, and the way we do so is through this actionable process. So after the practice and then after the game, you're going to go back and you're going to think, did I stick to these objectives that I set for myself today? If you did, that's great. You can really feel good about that. But you also want to identify what are some other good things that you did that day, because there will be days where you didn't stick to those objectives, and you have to say, unfortunately, I didn't stick to the objectives for whatever reason it might be, but there still was something good I did. I was able to pick up my teammates well. The whole idea here is we're trying to get into the habit of, number one, keeping our attention on ourselves and knowing what we need to be doing each and every practice and each and every game. But we also want to get into the habit of being able to feel good about what we do and see the positives in our performance for ourselves, instead of needing other people to tell us that we did things well. And that really is the essence of taking back control of this approval and this validation of how well we play and of how good of players we are. We have to get into the habit of seeing that for ourselves. And the best way that I've found to do this within the one-on-one coaching that I do is through this practice of evaluating your game, setting these objectives, going back, saying, yes, I stuck to those goals, and then saying, okay, I did these other things really well. Now I want to work on improving this going into the next game or the next practice. It has to be this active process where you are constantly trying to see the good things that you do, validate and approve of your performance for yourself, instead of waiting for other people to do so and being at the mercy of coaches and teammates' opinions and body language, facial expressions, which we know will only continually hold you back. So try this process out for yourself if right now you're really struggling with needing the approval of other people to feel good about yourself as a player. And like I said earlier, if you are interested in one-on-one coaching or the Confident Competitor Academy, I've put links to both of those in the description below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training. Thank you for watching, and I wish you the best of success in all that you do.